I never expected a text to make my heart skip like this, not after all these years. I'm sitting at my corner office in downtown Chicago, the skyline sprawling before me, sunlight catching the sleek lines of the glass buildings. My silk blouse brushes against my skin, soft and cool, a quiet comfort against the adrenaline that's suddenly prickling along my spine. My phone buzzes again. Dad. I stare at the screen, the words blinking at me. You think you're better than us now? A laugh escapes me, quiet, almost ironic. Better than us? The little girl who once begged for a chance to show she could do more than sit quietly at the dinner table, the girl who was dismissed, ignored, told she was too ambitious. She's sitting here now. I let my fingers hover over the phone, unsure if I want to reply, unsure if I even care. The office is quiet except for the soft hum of my computer, the faint scent of roasted coffee lingering from my morning cup. I glance around. My walls lined with abstract art I pick myself, shelves with trophies that no one back home knows exist. This is my world now, built from sleepless nights and a stubborn refusal to be invisible. And yet, a familiar pang strikes, a mix of pride, hurt, and something deeper, recognition that the past hasn't completely let go. I take a slow breath, feeling the weight of both my achievements and the confrontation that's coming. Dad thinks he knows me. He has no idea. I was 17 the first time I truly understood that wanting more could feel like a betrayal. The kitchen smelled of Sunday gravy and bread baking, Dad's proud family scent, but the warmth didn't reach me. I had just returned from my first business pitch at a local startup competition, clutching a notebook full of ideas, eyes bright with hope. Why do you always have to act like you're better than us? Dad said, his voice sharp, cutting through the cozy kitchen air. Mom looked away, shoving bread into a basket, pretending she hadn't heard. My hands shook as I gripped the notebook tighter, the pages crumpling slightly under my fingers. My throat burned, and tears pricked the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I want to do something meaningful, I said quietly, trying to make him understand. I want to build something of my own. Something real. Meaningful? You think money and business make you more than us? His tone dripped with disbelief, with disappointment that settled in my chest like a stone. I wanted to scream, to tell him he had no idea what it took to feel powerless every time he dismissed me, but the words caught in my throat. Grandma's gift came shortly after that day, a small, leather-bound journal, with a note tucked inside in her familiar, looping handwriting. Write your own story, and never let anyone tell you it isn't worth telling. I held it close, feeling the weight of her faith, a quiet but steady force that refused to bend under Dad's disapproval. That night, I packed a small bag and left my bedroom door unlocked, just enough to say goodbye to the girl I used to be. I didn't have much. A couple of clothes, my journal, and a head full of dreams bigger than any kitchen conversation could contain. But it was enough. That was the moment I chose independence. The moment I decided that their disbelief wouldn't define me. The moment I made a pact with myself. I would succeed, not to prove them wrong, but to prove to myself that I was capable, that my vision mattered. It hurt, yes. But even hurt has a way of shaping courage when it's paired with someone who believes in you, even if that someone is just the voice of a grandmother who saw the fire in you before anyone else did. I moved to New York with nothing but my journal, a laptop, and a stubborn refusal to quit. The first few weeks were brutal. I lived in a cramped studio apartment with peeling paint and a view of a brick wall, surviving on instant coffee and whatever freelance gigs I could scrape together. Every night, I wrote plans, projections, dreams, until my fingers cramped and my eyes blurred. The journal from Grandma became my map, guiding me through uncertainty, reminding me that every line I wrote was a step toward my own story. That's when I met Evelyn, a seasoned entrepreneur in her 50s, sharp and fearless. She saw me fumbling through a pitch at a co-working space, and instead of walking away, she asked, "Why are you so scared of your own brilliance?" Her words hit me harder than any criticism I'd endured from home. Evelyn took me under her wing, showing me the ropes of business, teaching me the art of negotiation, of marketing, of believing in my ideas when others wouldn't. I failed more times than I can count. Deals fell through. Clients ghosted me. I cried alone in that tiny apartment more nights than I care to admit. But every setback became a lesson, every rejection a sharpening stone. Slowly, I began to see results. My first client, a small but eager company that trusted me with their brand. My first profitable sale, the thrill of seeing numbers on a spreadsheet transform into real, tangible growth. I refused to tell my family anything. They thought I was struggling, bouncing from one job to another, never guessing that each quiet step I took was leading me closer to something enormous. I learned to celebrate victories in silence, savoring the moment privately. The first time I could pay rent without worry, the first time I bought a chair for my apartment that wasn't secondhand, the first time a bank statement made me catch my breath. Every achievement became my secret rebellion, a quiet testament to the fact that I could thrive without their approval. I built networks, learned investment strategies, and slowly, imperceptibly, grew my business into something remarkable. It wasn't flashy, at least not yet, but the foundation was solid, built with sweat, intelligence, and relentless determination. And all the while, the journal sat on my desk, its pages now filled with milestones, failures, lessons, and victories. Grandma's words echoed in every line. Write your own story, and never let anyone tell you it isn't worth telling. I had learned the truth of that advice. The story isn't just what you write on paper. It's the life you craft, the legacy you create, and the power you claim, quietly, for yourself. Soon, the business grew, quietly at first, then exponentially. By the time I was 30, I had a company valued at over $280 million. And yet, nobody back home had the faintest clue. Not my parents. Not my siblings. Not a single person who had doubted me in my teens. I had learned how to win, and how to do it without permission. The knock at my office door came just after lunch. I had been reviewing quarterly reports, sipping my third cup of artisan coffee, when I saw through the glass panel Dad, Mom, and my younger brother, all standing awkwardly in the lobby, looking like they had wandered into the wrong building. My heart ticked faster, not from fear, but from the strange thrill of anticipation. I took a moment, smoothing the silk of my blouse and letting my heels click confidently across the marble floor as I approached the door. The lobby was spacious, filled with modern art I'd collected over the years. Every detail, the lighting, the subtle scent of sandalwood in the air, the polished wood furniture, was a reflection of the life I had painstakingly built, brick by brick, away from their eyes. "Hi," I said, my voice calm, almost casual. "Can I help you?" Dad's jaw tightened, Mom's hands clasped nervously, my brother fidgeted with his phone. They looked small somehow, in comparison to the space to me. I gestured for them to follow me to the office. As we walked, I noticed Dad glancing at my nameplate, CEO, founder, his eyes narrowing, trying to reconcile this reality with the daughter he had dismissed all those years ago. I watched the disbelief slowly etch across his face. I let them take in the room before speaking further. The walls bore abstract paintings I had chosen myself, subtle statements of independence and vision. My desk, meticulously organized, held the journal Grandma had given me so many years ago, its leather edges worn but intact. Shelves lined with awards, recognitions, and artifacts of my hard-fought journey framed the room. Finally, I spoke, letting the silence stretch just long enough. "I think it's time you knew the truth," I said, my tone gentle but steady. "This isn't just my office. It's the headquarters of a company I started from scratch. A company that's worth $280 million. And yes, most of it has been quietly supporting our family all these years." Their faces went through the gamut of emotions: disbelief, confusion, guilt, and, slowly, amazement. Dad's mouth opened, closed, then opened again, as though the words couldn't find their way out. Mom's eyes glistened, a mixture of pride and sorrow washing over her. My brother just stared, stunned, a flush creeping up his neck. You built all this?" Dad finally asked, his voice almost breaking. "Alone?" "Yes," I said softly, allowing a quiet smile. Alone, yes, but not without guidance. Grandma gave me a gift once, a journal. She told me to write my own story.
And I did.
Every sleepless night, every client, every failure, every small victory, it all led here. And yes, I've been supporting the family quietly. But this is me. The room was silent. And then the questions came: how, when, why, but I didn't rush to answer. I let them digest it, let the reality settle in. I had given them the truth, finally. Not as an apology, not as a demand, but as proof of the woman I had become. Independent, powerful, and unshakable. For the first time, I saw them truly see me. Not the scared, ambitious girl they had once dismissed, but the woman who had built an empire from nothing, quietly, relentlessly, and with grace. The room was heavy with silence after the reveal. I let it linger, letting them absorb the truth fully, before stepping closer, my heels clicking with quiet authority. For years, I had carried the weight of their doubt and disbelief, and now it was time to set the terms, not out of vengeance, but out of clarity and fairness. I've been supporting all of you quietly. I began, my voice calm but firm. Paying for tuition, medical bills, investments you didn't even ask about. But I will not continue to prop up habits that hold you back or expectations that tie me down to the past. Dad's eyes flickered, defensive, but I ignored it. If I continue helping, it will be under conditions. First, honesty. I want transparency in all financial matters. No more assumptions, no more secrets. Second, ambition. Each of you needs to pursue your own path, not one built on what I provide, but one you carve for yourselves. And third, respect. For me, for my work, and for the boundaries I've built over the years. Mom's lips parted, as if to interrupt, but I held up my hand. I'm not punishing anyone, I said softly. This is about growth, about building a healthier dynamic. You've spent too long expecting me to fit into the daughter you wanted, rather than the woman I am. If you want to be part of this new chapter, these are the rules. My brother shifted, looking down at his shoes. I stepped closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. I believe in you, but no more relying on my success to define your life. Find your own victories. Make mistakes. Learn.
Grow.
Dad's jaw tightened again, but this time I saw a flicker of understanding. You think this is about money, he muttered, almost to himself. I shook my head. No, it's about respect, integrity, and self-reliance. Money is just the tool. The real wealth is what you do with yourself, how you grow, and how you treat others. I saw Mom exhale, a quiet surrender, as if the weight of her years of expectations had finally shifted. She nodded slowly, understanding that this wasn't about control, it was about transformation. I stepped back, letting the room breathe, letting the rules I had set sink in. I had the upper hand, yes, but I wielded it with fairness and care, not anger. I wasn't looking for apologies, nor for gratitude. I was looking for change, and they knew it. And in that moment, I realized that power wasn't just in money or titles or success. Power was in clarity, in boundaries, and in the courage to demand growth from those you love. For the first time, I felt not only accomplished but truly free. I could see it already. The beginnings of understanding, the first sparks of accountability, the subtle shifts in attitude that told me they were ready to meet me as an equal, not as someone beneath them. And for me, that was more valuable than any bank statement, any office, any empire. Weeks passed, and the changes were subtle at first. Dad started asking for advice, not to control but to learn. My brother took a job in a startup, struggling, failing, and slowly finding pride in his own effort. Mom began volunteering, pursuing interests she had set aside for family obligations, smiling in a way that wasn't tied to expectation but to her own growth. I watched them from my office one morning, sunlight streaming across the polished wood floor, and felt a quiet satisfaction. Not the triumphant, gloating kind, but the deep, steady satisfaction of knowing I had created space for them to become their best selves, and for me to fully claim mine. The leather-bound journal from Grandma sat on my desk, its pages filled with my past victories, lessons, and reflections. I opened it, tracing her handwriting with my fingers. Write your own story, and never let anyone tell you it isn't worth telling. I smiled softly, realizing that this advice had guided not just my career, but my heart. I had written my story, yes, but I had also offered others the chance to rewrite theirs. It wasn't perfect. There were still old habits to break, stubborn opinions to soften, but the foundation was set. The fear, resentment, and doubt that had once clouded family dinners, once made me hesitate before sharing my dreams, were slowly dissolving. And in their place grew respect, understanding, and love, stronger because it was earned, not demanded. I closed the journal and looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, the Chicago skyline glittering like a promise. I thought about the girl I had been, the scared, ambitious teenager clutching a notebook in a kitchen filled with judgment, and how far I had come. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every quiet victory had led to this: clarity, power, and grace. And as I sat there, feeling the weight of all I had built and all I had endured, I realized the truth I had always known, but now lived fully. I am not defined by their disbelief. I am not limited by their expectations. I am the architect of my life, the author of my story, and the woman who turned rejection into a $280 million empire without losing her heart. And that finally is enough.